My name is Ariel Liang, the policy analyst at ICANN. With me today is the GNSO Council Leadership Chair James Blato, Vice Chairs Donna Austin and Heather Forrest. So James, the community forum first convened in this meeting where the community got together and discussed the proposal to amend one of ICANN's fundamental bylaws. We know that GNSO is one of the decisional participants in the empowered community. So how would the GNSO follow the approval process?
Thanks, Ariel. And yes, for the first time out, the empowered community, I thought, did very well in its community forum. The GNSO is currently discussing within itself all of the stakeholder groups and constituencies to gather the opinions and positions on the proposed change to the fundamental bylaws. One of the challenges that we're having, and I think I've heard it echoed with some of the other decisional participants, is that the calendars, the 21-day required calendars, are challenging for groups like the GNSO to make a decision. However, we just came out of our council meeting where we outlined an approach that would take us into July with a timeline to approve not only the changes to the fundamental bylaws, but also leave open the potential of discussion and petitions on the budget. So I think we're optimistic that we have a good plan of attack that will allow us to participate in the empowered community on those 2 points by the prescribed deadline.
Cool. So also on the topic of the empowered community, the council just voted on the process and criteria to select the representative on the empowered community administration. Any update on this?
Yes, you're correct. We did adopt that recommendation from the Standing Selection Committee and the process that they've outlined, which is that the 3 of us need to decide amongst us who will represent the GNSO on a permanent basis in that empowered community administration. Right now I'm doing so, but only on an interim basis.
Great. So Donna, we know that the community has been focusing on the 3 major policy development processes, not only through the working group sessions, but also the cross-community discussions. Do you think the cross-community discussions were helpful in furthering the work within the PDPs?
Thanks, Ariel. I think they're really important. We have 3 ICANN meetings a year. This is the one ICANN meeting where we can focus on policy, and it allows the PDP working groups to actually schedule a good chunk of time, not only for the face-to-face meetings, but to have conversations with the broader community about topics that have reached a certain level of importance in their work. So I think it's a very, very important opportunity, and I personally would like to see it continue. I'd like to find a way to have those kinds of discussions in the other 2 meetings that we have every year.
Great. So Heather, we know that the geographic names is one of the hot topics in ICANN59. We had the cross-community discussions on this, and also the CCWG on the use of names of countries and territories for top-level domains have just issued their final paper and submitted to the Council for review and approval. So what's the Council perspective on geographic names?
Thank you, Ariel. You're absolutely right to say that this has been a big issue at this meeting, and indeed it's been an issue that the community has been living with for quite some time. We have had for a number of years overlapping and at times inconsistent efforts within the various supporting organizations and advisory committees of ICANN, and what we're seeing now finally is an opportunity for some of those to coalesce and work together more constructively, and I think that picks up on some of the comments that Donna has just made. It's something that Council is particularly pleased to see. Certainly in terms of the cross-community working group on the use of country and territory names as TLDs, what we've seen there is a breakdown in discussions because the community really doesn't have the right vehicle to come together on these very complex issues. And having that group, let's say, doing one thing and a GAC working group doing another thing, it's just not helpful, let's say, in resolving tackling these issues that impact the community as a whole. And we as a GNSO want to make it very clear that, and indeed it's our role as managers of the PDP, that we understand that this is an issue that affects the whole community. And with that in mind, the cross-community discussions that you've just alluded to are dealing with geographic names much more broadly than the cross-community working group was able to. We're finally getting an understanding about what names we think fall into this category and how we might go ahead with that. And I think that's really a fantastic development after so many years of struggling with these questions.
Indeed. So leading up to the next ICANN meeting in Abu Dhabi, what do each of you think would be the major priorities for the GNSO?
Well, it's easy to answer in the context of geographic names in a sense of we've just ended a council meeting at which the co-chairs of the subsequent procedures policy development process announced the formation or the proposed formation of a new work track specifically dealing with geographic names. And I think we as council should do all that we can to support that effort and facilitate that and enable that to happen, because at the end of the day, an effort like that is going to help us bring inclusiveness to the PDP. It will bring other impacted communities into the PDP in leadership roles and give the entire community ownership of these challenges. So I think it's our job to support that as much as we can.
Marika took me aside yesterday and reminded me that the GNSO Council received some budget support to do a strategic planning session in January of next year. This is something that the Council hasn't done before, and I think we've been allocated 3 days. So what I think that the three of us should be looking to kind of start some preparation work for what that strategic session should look like. We have a very, very, very high workload, and we never get the opportunity to sit down with the council and work out how we're going to manage that throughout the year. So I think it's important that we get the planning done. So we should use the time that we have, up to Abu Dhabi to get as far down the path as we can with that, so that we will have a changeover of councillors in Abu Dhabi so that they understand what this session is going to look like and what we expect in terms of their contribution.
So I agree. The active PDPs, one of which might conclude between now and Abu Dhabi, need our full support. They're tackling some very challenging issues and issues that are clearly of significant interest to other areas of the community. We have the issues associated with the empowered community that need to be addressed between now and actually our next meeting in July. So those are going to be a high sense of urgency. But in addition to all of that, on a personal note, I'll note that Abu Dhabi ICANN60 will be my last meeting as chair. I'll be stepping down and stepping off the council, and as Donna mentioned, there'll be a new wave of councillors coming in to take their seats at that meeting, and one of their first orders of business will be to select a new leadership team. And I'm very hopeful and supportive. We've worked so well together as a team, and I'm very hopeful and supportive that the next leadership team will enjoy the same level of success and build on those successes in the management of the council, because as we noted, the GNSO Council has a significant workload in front of it between now and Abu Dhabi, and then into 2018 and the strategic session in January.
Thank you so much for speaking with us today. So enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thanks, Ariel.